بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد وبالسند المتصل منا إلى الإمام الهمام الحافظ الحجة أمير المؤمنين في الحديث أبي عبد الله محمد بن إسماعيل بن إبراهيم المغيرة البردسبة الجعفي البخاري رحمه الله تعالى ومتعنا بعلومه وفيوضه آمين. باب الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما مشتبهات. حدثني محمد بن مثنى قال حدثنا ابن عبي عن ابن عون عن الشعبي سمعت النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنه سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وحدثنا علي بن عبد الله حدثنا ابن عيينة حدثنا أبو فروة عن الشعبي قال سمعت النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سمعت النبي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وحدثنا عبد الله بن محمد قال حدثنا ابن عيينة عن أبي فروة سمعت الشعبي سمعت النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. حدثنا محمد بن كثير قال أخبرنا سفيان عن أبي فروة عن الشعبي النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهة فمن ترك ما شبه عليه من الإثم كان لما استبان أترك ومن اشترى على ما يشك فيه من الإثم أوشك أن يواقع ما استبان والمعاصي حمى الله من يرتع حول الحمى يوشك أن يواقعه أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. This is the second Tarjumatul Bab, the second subject matter Imam Bukhari rahimahullah has made in Kitab al-Buyu' of Sahih al-Bukhari, a chapter of business, commerce, and economics and finance. The subject matter that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah made was al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. Translation: halal is clear and haram is clear. Between halal and haram there is a doubtful area, there is a gray area. The purpose of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah making this subject matter is to demonstrate the importance or illustrate the importance, teach us about the importance of how to deal with doubtful issues. For purposes of applying our mind, as we usually do, we'll pose a few questions and inshallah towards the end we will answer the questions. First question: some sellers, when you go to the store, some sellers, the potential buyers, the seller offers a sample of their product to the potential buyer. If it's an edible item, they'll give a piece of the item or something in order for you to taste that item. Or if it's itar, or if it's perfume or cologne, they'll perhaps open the box, take the cologne out, take the itar out, apply it on your hand or spray it upon you in order for you to try that product out. Similarly, if it's something, let's say, of more value, and you go to the store and you purchase an apparel. Purchasing an apparel meaning that the store owner or the seller tells you that, listen, you take this product, if you like it, use it for a few days, if you enjoy it, you like it, you keep it, you come and conclude the sale, complete the sale. If you don't like it, you come and you give it back and nothing, the sale won't be completed, you won't owe me anything and I'll have my product back. So purchasing an apparel. So what did Islam, what does Sharia say about this? Second question: sometimes certain products, you go to the market and they are sold at a ridiculously low price. For example, you go to the flea market and this phone, let's say it's worth $700, $800. You go to the market and someone is selling it to you, someone is offering to sell it to you for $300. So now you know it's at a ridiculously low price. Nowhere in the market are you going to find a price similar to that. And you know, it's sometimes too good to be true. The price is perhaps too good to be true. So what does Islam say about this? You have the thought crosses your mind that perhaps it is a stolen item. So what does Islam say about this? What does Sharia say about this? Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, the hadith that we just recited, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he presents a hadith from a very great companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The companion was named Nu'man bin Bashir radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. Nu'man, he was a Sahabi, he was a companion. Bashir, his father, was also a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At the demise of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was 8 years old. And Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he is considered from one of the Sigar Sahaba, meaning one of the Sahaba who enjoy the company of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at a tender age, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away before they reached the age of puberty. Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he later on, after he grew older, after he reached the age of puberty, after he became mature, Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala narrated this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now it was the habit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he would deal with minors, or he would deal with everyone actually, in accordance to their level, respective of their level. And this goes with the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that anzilun nasa manazilahum, that you deal with people based upon the status that they have, or based upon the intellectual capacity that they possess. So you deal with them, you treat them, and you either bring yourself down or bring yourself up to that level of that individual, the individual which he is used to, or he is normal for him. And this is one of the practices of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In Kitab al-Ilm in Bukhari, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he brings the incident of Mahmud bin Rabi' radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was traveling somewhere, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was invited to the house of Mahmud bin Rabi' radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was a child at that time. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was offered water from the well. Now children have the habit of playing with whatever they have. Literally anything you give them, they're going to play with. So if they have a well, they have water, they're obviously going to play with the water as well. For example, like nowadays, how they play with water guns, etc. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw that the kids are playing with water. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was offered the water. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam takes a gulp of the water, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam splashes it, or spits it, squirts it on the face of Mahmud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. In order to lighten the mood, in order to join in upon the play of the children, in order to engage them. And this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's habit. Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he also narrates a similar incident. Once Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala was sitting enjoying the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was a little kid, a young child. So someone gifted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam a branch of a date tree, and that date tree had dates on it, ripe dates on it. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala, take that branch, take it home and gift it to your mother. Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala took the branch. He's on his way home. On his way home, he gets hungry. So one after the other, he starts eating the dates. By the time he gets home, there's no more dates. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a few days later, Nu'man radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him that what happened? Did you end up giving it at home? Did they enjoy it? There was no acknowledgement from the house. Usually when you give a gift to someone, especially if it's someone with a status as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's going to be some form of acknowledgement that, hey, thank you for the gift that you have given us. Even if someone gives us a gift, we write a thank you card, or at minimum we call them or we text them saying thank you for the gift. We enjoyed the gift, right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there was no acknowledgement. Did they enjoy the gift? So Nu'man radiyallahu anhu tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, I was going and I felt hungry. So I started eating the dates one after the other. By the time I got home, there was no more dates. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam grabbed him by the ear Rasulullah is smiling, he grabs him by the ear, and playfully Rasulullah tells him, "You cheater." This was the tarbiyah of Rasulullah, the upbringing of Rasulullah, and teaching the child a lesson. And at the same time, Rasulullah was not harsh on the child. Nu'man al-Bashir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was appointed as a governor at the time of Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu during the Khilafah of Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And he was martyred in a place called Hims, which is in Sham, which is in present-day Syria. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he presents this narration of Nu'man radiallahu ta'ala anhu in support of the subject matter of this Tarjumatul Bab. Now this hadith is so profound that Nu'man radiallahu, the Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah, he mentions, Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah has compiled a collection of ahadith referred to as the Sunan of Abu Dawood. This is amongst the six books which are, the six hadith books which are considered authentic. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Nasa'i, and Abu Dawood. These six books which are considered authentic books of ahadith. So Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah, he writes that I narrated 500,000 ahadith, 500,000 ahadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. From those 500,000 ahadith, I hand selected 5,000 ahadith, 5,000 narrations, 5,000 sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I compiled them in my book, which is available. From those 5,000 ahadith, there are 4 ahadith that if you act upon them, if you do amal upon them, it will be as if you are acting upon those 500,000 ahadith which I have narrated from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First one of these hadith, إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته إلى الدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها أو يتزوجها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. That actions are based upon your intention. Actions are based upon the intentions. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, individual who does hijrah, who migrates. And this, the hadith says migration because it's a huge amal, it's a huge action of worship. Individual leaving his city, leaving his home and migrating to another city for the cause of Islam, for the protection of his iman. It's a great amal, it's a great act of worship. So Rasulullah is giving the example of hijrah. So if a person does a great action of worship for Allah and His Rasul, he will get rewarded accordingly. But if a person does this for the dunya, to attain something from the world, or in order to marry someone, his hijrah, his ibadah, his worship is going to be for what he intended for. So if a person does an action in order for Allah and His Rasul, he will be rewarded. If he does it for anything else, he will not be rewarded. That's the first hadith. Second hadith, Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah mentions, من حسن الإسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعني. From the beauty of Islam is that you let go, you don't pay attention, you don't stick your nose into those things which have no concern with you. Those matters which do not concern you, don't worry about them. Today, unfortunately, we're the opposite. Those matters which don't concern us, we worry about, and those things which do concern us, we don't care about. So, من حسن الإسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعني. From the beauty of Islam, from the teaching of Islam, is that you don't pay attention, you don't care about the things which have no concern with you, which have no relationship with you, which have no ties with you. Third hadith, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you is a true believer until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. None of you is a true believer until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. For example, in business, you don't want someone to take advantage of you. You don't want someone to cheat you. You don't want someone to lie to you. Right? It's not good for your business. So similarly, you wouldn't want that for your brother. You wouldn't want to do that for your brother. You won't cheat your brother. You won't take advantage of your brother. You won't lie to your brother. Because that's the teaching of Islam. Fourth hadith, الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات فمن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام. And there's different narrations, different sayings. That halal is clear, haram is clear. Between halal and haram is a doubtful area. That individual which falls into the doubtful area, the gray area, he will likely fall into haram. So for a hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, actions are based upon your intention. You do intention to please Allah and His Rasul, you will get rewarded accordingly. Second hadith, that min husn al-Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni, those things which have no concern with you, they have nothing to do with you, don't stick your nose into them. Third hadith, that like for your brother that which you like for yourself. Desire for your brother that which you desire for yourself. And fourth hadith, that halal is clear, permissible is clear, impermissible is clear. Between them two is the gray area, the doubtful area. That individual which falls into the gray area, he will likely fall into sin, he will likely fall into haram. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, it is his habit from an academic point of view that when he narrates a hadith under a subject matter, under the tarjumatul bab, he narrates the hadith in order to support or make a point regarding the subject matter. And usually what he does, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, is his habit, that for each hadith, for each point he wants to make, he has one chain of narrators. One chain of narrators. And then later on perhaps he'll bring the same hadith, but with a separate chain, a different chain of narrators, and he will be making a whole totally different point with the same hadith. And this hadith is such that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, it's the same hadith under the same subject, under one subject matter, but he brings four different chain of narrators. Four different chain of narrators. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah is emphasizing upon the importance, upon the powerfulness, upon the greatness of this hadith. Translation of this hadith, Nu'man ibn Bashir radiallahu ta'ala anhu says, Al-halalu bayyin, halal is clear. There are many issues which the Quran and hadith, the Quran and the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have explicitly told us that this is permissible. Wal-haramu bayyin, haram is also clear. Many issues which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the Quran have stated to be impermissible. وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ, between the two things, the issues of halal, the permissible and impermissible, haram, there is a doubtful area. There are certain things, and it can be doubtful for various reasons, and inshallah throughout the next few weeks we'll expand upon that. That the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that person who falls into the doubtful area, it is likely that he will fall into the sin. But the individual who does not fall into the doubtful area, it is likely that he will not come close to the sin. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam further explains by example. And let me give you the example first, that in the villages, farmers who have herds or they have sheep, cattle, they appoint a shepherd or they appoint an individual to take care of the animals, to take care of the herd. And they have appointed land where the animals can graze, right? So the job of the shepherd is that he makes sure that the animals don't come close to the boundaries of the land. Why? Because if the animal comes close to the boundary, it is likely that the animal will continue eating and eating. The animal doesn't know. It's likely the animal will continue eating and he will go into someone else's land and it will be a big issue then. So the job of the shepherd is he ensures that the animals don't come close to the boundary. Right? Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fields, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pastures. Now, that individual who goes close to the boundary of the field, of the grazing field, it is likely that without even knowing, he will likely keep eating and eating until he falls into someone else's land, until he falls and he leaves the gray area and he goes into the haram, into the impermissible. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he explains in this hadith with this beautiful example that that individual who stays on the boundary, it is likely that he will keep going until he falls into the haram, until he falls into that from the impermissible. From this hadith, there are 3 points which we can understand, which we can deduce. First thing, we understand certain things are halal, certain things are haram. Recognize, declare, understand that which is halal to be halal, which is permissible to be permissible. And recognize, declare, understand that to be impermissible, to be haram as haram. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, "Man qara'a al-Qur'ana," that individual who reads the Qur'an, فَأَحَلَّ حَلَالَهُ وَحَرَّمَ حَرَامَهُ. He recognizes what is permissible as permissible, and he recognizes what is impermissible to be impermissible. دَخَلَ الْجَنَّةِ. He will enter into Jannah. What is permissible? Recognize it and leave it as permissible. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam once, it was his habit that after a certain salah, either after Fajr or after Asr, it is slipping my mind, but Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would go and he would visit his wives, and he would meet them for a certain time, and he would, between the two salahs, he would try visiting all of them, and he would ask them if they need anything, if they had any needs, if they had anything they needed to discuss, they would discuss with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That point was exclusively for the wives. And he would give us a certain set time to each wife, which he would make his rounds, and he would visit all of them. So one of the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was gifted honey by someone. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam visited her, she thought, perhaps what I'll do is I'll offer Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'll mix the honey with water, and I'll offer the drink to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he will drink that drink, and he will enjoy it, and he will like it, and because of that, perhaps he will stay a few minutes more with me than the rest of the wives. So when it was time for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to leave her house, she told Rasulullah, hold on, I want to offer you a drink. And she made the drink and she offered it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah drank it, enjoyed it. But because of this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a few minutes late to go to the next wife. Now the other wives, they got together. A few of the wives got together, and they said that this wife, she has done something which is causing Rasulullah, which is delaying Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they were waiting, anxiously waiting for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said, what we're going to do is when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes, all of us, when he comes to us, when he comes to you, when he comes to me, and when he comes to the other, what we're going to say is to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, what's that smell coming from your mouth? We're going to make a scene, we're going to make a drama. And because of this, the love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is feeling towards her, the more love that he's feeling towards her, that will leave, and he will be more attracted towards us. You know, it's just a little thing which the wives decided. And obviously there is competition between females at times. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was very conscious of his smell. He was very conscious of the smell, especially from his mouth. And tahara was something that Rasulullah, cleanliness, purity, Rasulullah would emphasize greatly upon. At-tahuru shatrul iman. That's a part of iman. Cleanliness, being pure, is a part of one's iman. And Rasulullah was constant communication with the angels, to an extent Rasulullah said, "Man akala min hadhihi shajarat al-muntahinati," that individual who eats from these trees, the tree of onion tree, who eats the onion plant, or he eats a garlic plant, he shouldn't come close to our masjid, because the angels, they frequent the masjids, and the smells, these foul smells, these bad odors, they harm the angels. So Rasulullah says he was in constant communication with the angels, so he would never eat from these plants, from these vegetables. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very conscious of this. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to one of the wives, and she said that, "What did you eat? Some bad odor is coming." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he brushed it aside. Second wife said this. Third wife said this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam thought, he said, "I haven't done anything out of the normal, except for I drank that honey." So he thought that perhaps that honey is making my breath smell, or is emitting that bad odor. So he took a qasam, he took an oath, that from now on, I'm not going to eat honey, ever again. Something which is permissible, honey which is permissible, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it impermissible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the revelation, "Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu lima tuharrimu ma ahallallahu lak." O Nabi of Allah, why are you making impermissible that thing which Allah has made permissible upon you? Similarly, once the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were sitting, and they were discussing that Rasulullah ﷺ exerts himself in worship to such an extent, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Quran, لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. Any sins, if any, Allah has guaranteed that they're going to be forgiven. And Jannah is made for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything, the whole nizam, this whole world is made for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So obviously Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have the highest stage in Jannah. But regardless of all this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is exerting himself in worship to such an extent that he is standing in qiyam, standing in prayer, to such an extent that his feet are swelling and his feet are bleeding because of the severity of the swelling. Then our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, why do you exert yourself to such an extent, even though Jannah is guaranteed for you? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, "Afala akuna abdan shakura?" Should I not be a grateful slave to Allah? Should I not be a grateful servant, a grateful bondsman to Allah? Regardless of all this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is exerting himself in worship. So the Sahaba, the companions, are sitting and they're saying that, regardless of Rasulullah being guaranteed, he is doing all of this. What do we have? What can we do in order to guarantee a spot in Jannah as well? One of the companions said that what I'm going to do is I'm never going to sleep at night. I'm going to spend the night in worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second companion says, I'm never going to get married. I'm going to devote myself for Allah. I'm going to constantly be engaged with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I won't have anything to divert my mind. Third individual said, I'm going to fast all day. I'm never going to eat during the day. I'm going to fast in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he heard this, he became very angry. And he said, why are you making impermissible the things which Allah has made permissible upon you? So sometimes I fast, sometimes I don't fast. Sometimes I sleep at night, sometimes I don't sleep at night. And I also have gotten married. So what is permissible, keep as permissible. What is haram, what is impermissible, recognize and declare that to be impermissible. Unfortunately, we are prone to err. We do commit sins. But what is permissible, Recognize that, declare that to be impermissible. Don't make excuses for yourself, don't justify it. Don't justify it. What is impermissible? Leave it as impermissible. You know, ulama, they mention that individual who commits a sin, but he recognizes that it is a sin. He knows it's a sin. He shows remorse over it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the ability to one day repent from that sin. But that individual who justifies it, he won't even consider a sin pretty soon. And Allah will never give him the ability, the tawfiq, to let go of that sin. He will constantly be involved in that sin. And justifying or considering a sin halal, something which is impermissible to be permissible, many times that leads you to kufr. They mention وَالْإِسْتِحْلَالُ كُفْرٌ, making something which is impermissible as permissible, which is explicitly impermissible. You make that permissible for yourself. That may lead an individual towards kufr, cause him to leave the fold of Islam. Now see, we know what is halal, we know what is haram. But living in this society, as Rasulullah mentioned, ad-deenu yusrun, the deen, it is not something which is meant to be difficult. It is meant to be easy. So now the job of the muftis, of the ulama, of the scholars, is to recognize what is halal, what is haram. But what is haram, what is impermissible, what is not permissible for us to do, give an alternative situation, alternative option for that. And this is what the Prophets ﷺ used to do. Yusuf ﷺ, when he was in the prison, and he was asked to interpret the dream of the 7 fat calves eating the 7 skinny calves. And he mentioned that this is indicating toward the 7 years of abundance in wealth, 7 years of abundance in crops, and then 7 years of famine, 7 years of poverty. He didn't stop there. He gave a solution to it. He said those 7 years which you have abundance, save up the wealth, save up the crops, and use it throughout the 7 years which you have poverty. He didn't stop at just the interpretation. He was only asked to interpret the dream, but he gave a solution to the situation which arose as well. Similarly, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once he was sitting, and the dates of Khaybar is a place in Saudi. The dates of Khaybar were presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were very superior quality. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was impressed by the quality of the dates, and he said, "Akullu tamri Khaybara hakada?" That are all of the dates of Khaybar this excellent, this superior in quality? The companion replied, "No, we have all type of quality. Some are superior, some are inferior. But what we do is the one which is lower in quality, we trade that for those which are superior in quality. So for example, we'll give 20 inferior or low quality dates, and we'll receive 5 high quality dates." So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Dhaka aynu riba." This is exactly what riba is. That's something which is of the same jins, the same is the same thing. It's a date. You are giving more and you are getting less. So this is what riba is. So then Rasulullah didn't stop there. He gave them an alternative option. What you do now, Rasulullah said, what you do now is from now on, first what you do is you sell your dates of low quality. Sell them in the market. Get cash. Then from that, or trade it, get whatever. Then from that, you purchase the superior quality dates. Literally it's the same thing, but it's in order to avoid riba. Rasulullah ﷺ gave an alternative. Similarly is the responsibility of the ulama, the responsibility of the muftis, to not only address these issues of the society, of the community, but to provide an alternative solution to those problems which arise. Second thing, there are some doubtful situations. The Quran and Hadith, the fiqh, does not explicitly say regard it to be halal, does not explicitly regard it to be haram. One scholar says it's halal, one scholar says it's haram. Now, for the public, for an individual who is in the public, an aam individual, it is necessary for him to appoint one mufti, one individual, one scholar who is well versed in issuing verdicts. Identify him and trust him with your issues. Whatever he regards to be halal, to be permissible, you regard to be permissible. Whatever he regards to be haram, you regard to be haram. And you stick with it. You don't go fatwa shopping. You don't go shopping for answers. Literally, at times we receive questions, and the questioner, the individual he questions is such that such and such scholar said this, such and such scholar said this, but what do you think? So literally he's shopping until he gets what he desires. Don't go fatwa shopping. Identify one scholar whom you trust and stick with him. Obviously there is going to be differences of opinion, and this is one of the things which are the rahmah for the ummah, for the nation. The differences of opinion are rahmah for the nation, or mercy for the nation. But don't go shopping for different things until you get what you're looking for. Third lesson, how this hadith is emphasizing upon how we should exercise taqwa and stay away from doubtful things. Staying away from doubtful things. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, لا يأتي على الناس زمان لا يبال المرء بما أخذ أمن الحلال أم من الحرام. That a time is going to come, which is going to be close to the day of judgment, that the individual is not going to care where he is getting his wealth, where he is getting his income from a halal source or a haram source. He won't care. And money is coming, that's it. Exercising taqwa, exercising consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, once he had a slave, and he had such an agreement with the slave that slave was free to trade or do business as he liked. But daily he was supposed to give a portion of his income to Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. This was the agreement they had. He was free to do whatever he wanted, but a portion of his income was to go to Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu daily. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, once he was sitting and the individual came, the slave came, and he came with food. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu took the food, read the dua, read Bismillah in the name of Allah, and started eating the food. And the individual, the slave, after Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu finished, he asked Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, you usually ask me that where have I gotten my income, or where have I gotten the goods that I'm bringing to you? How did I get it? But today you didn't ask me. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said that I was so hungry that I forgot to ask you. I haven't eaten in many days, so I forgot to ask you. But now I'm finished, tell me, where did you get this from? So he said, before I accepted Islam, I used to practice soothsaying. And I practiced soothsaying for these individuals once. And right now I was going somewhere and I passed their town, and those same individuals were having a function. They were having a party, or they're celebrating. and they had a bunch of food, and they thought that they should repay me and they should acknowledge my services. So they gave me so much food, and I had so much, so I gave it to you as well. From haram source. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he asked for water, and he stuck his fingers in his mouth until he threw up whatever went in his stomach. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala hadn't eaten for many days, so it was very difficult for him to throw up. He kept drinking water, kept drinking water, kept drinking water, until all of the food that he ate was out of his stomach. Someone asked Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, you ate it, madha ma madha, what happened? Leave it now. Why are you stressing upon it? You didn't know. Now you just ask Allah for forgiveness and that's it. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala replied that even if my life would have gone, even though I would have died, I wouldn't have rested until the food was out of my stomach. Because I heard the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that body which is nourished by haram, it will not enter into Jannah. So this consciousness, how they would stay away from the doubtful things. We need to also exercise this type of caution, this type of taqwa. Now, in order to answer the two questions which we posed in the beginning, purchasing an apparel, the fuqaha mentioned that if you actually have intention to purchase the thing, only then is it permissible for you to try that thing or to purchase that thing on apparel. If you have no intention to purchase it, don't waste the seller's time, don't waste the seller's mal, don't waste his product in order to please yourself. For example, if it's ittar, and it's an expensive type of ittar, now what's the purpose of ittar? To apply on yourself in order to make yourself smell good. So the seller, he opens an expensive bottle of ittar and he's applying it on you. You have no intention absolutely to buy it. You can't even afford it. Don't waste his product. Similarly, someone a while back, there was something that happened in one of the masjids, and they needed a carpet cleaner, those vacuums which put the water and they suck up the water and things like that, right? So you need to purchase one of those. They couldn't rent it, so they thought that let's do this. We'll go to Home Depot, we'll purchase the vacuum, we'll use it over the weekend, we'll return it back on Monday. We have a 90-day return policy. They have no intention to buy it. It's totally impermissible. Purchasing something, buying it, using it, once your need is done, you return it. Similarly, you have an event to go to. You need a suit, and you don't have an expensive suit. So you go buy an expensive suit, you wear it for your event, and you come and return it on Monday. This is totally impermissible. Yes, if you have an actual intention of buying it, and you do want to test it out, in that case it's totally permissible for you to try it, and perhaps you don't like it, then it is totally permissible for you to return it as well. So if you have the intention to actually buy it, if you have the means to actually buy it, only then should you try it, only then should you purchase an apparel. If you know you can't afford it, if you are taking if you are taking impermissible advantage of the person, then don't do it. It's totally haram. Second thing, purchasing something which is ridiculously low priced. It is too good to be true. In Hidayah, it's a book on Islamic law and jurisprudence. In the 4th volume, the author of Hidayah, he states a principle that if someone is offering an item and you trust that individual, you converse with that individual, you can trust that individual. Sometimes the individual may be desperate to sell the item. This he perhaps bought for $800, but he didn't have a loan to pay off. Now he has to pay off the loan, so he's selling whatever he has for a ridiculously low price. So if you can trust that individual, then it is permissible to buy it from him. But if you can't trust that individual, then it is not permissible to buy that item because perhaps it is stolen. Stolen items, the owner, the seller, you do not know, and you cannot trust him. You don't know enough that you can trust him. You cannot purchase that item from him. It is not permissible to purchase that item from him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to act on what we have heard and convey it to others. And inshallah next week we will continue with the fifth lesson, right? Inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.